Good day, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm back for the second day of our Money Matters theme for our Flourish and Flow and daily talk. How are you? How have you been with accounting? Did you actually try to practice it? Did you do it? So, yesterday I talked about counting, and today I'm going to talk about your money personality. But this talk is going to be more meaningful if you actually did what I suggested you do, which is to do your counting. Because as you count your money and keep track of where your money goes, flows out, and how it flows in, what that reveals to you is actually your money personality. And why is knowing your money personality important? Because it will determine or at least influence your financial destiny. Do you like my yellow earrings? I bought this from Mexico. So I'm all yellow today. I love the color yellow. So back to our topic, your money personality. Well, as it turns out, from what I've read and from the courses that I've attended, I discovered that there are 4 main personality types. Now let's just assume that's true, okay? You may or may not believe it, but for the moment, let's just assume that's true. So what are the 4 personality types? And see if you can relate to any of these. Let's just have fun with it. So first is the spender. These are the ones who are into status symbols, and some of them can be fashion victims. I think a week ago I talked about the sexiest women I've come across, and I was showing you the book _Style. And I forgot what the author's name was, but the author was saying that sometimes there are people out there who are fashion victims, but doesn't necessarily mean they're stylish, or actually they have a sense of style. And often these people are also the big spenders. It's as though they're trying to mask something. They buy into the Gucci's, the Pradas, the Chanel's. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just when you're buying into those luxury items, are you buying them because you want to show something or prove something? And if you choose to live in a postcode that is beyond your reach, that you're actually spending way more than what you earn and secretly really struggling with money, but you still choose to live in those high-end postcodes, that's the big spender or spender personality. You may or may not be able to relate with it, or you may or may not know people who are like that. So as I said, let's just have fun with this, no judgment. What's important is for you to be self-aware, not for you to judge other people, okay? That's not the point. So based on your counting and where you're spending your money, are you a spender? So the other personality is the hoarder. Oh my God, have you ever met those people? So these people love to go out there and to shop for the cheapest bargains they could find. When you go to their house is probably full of stuff, and some of this stuff they haven't even used for years, but they just love to say buy things on sale. When I was in Singapore, they have a term for this. I think they call it kiasu, like not wanting to lose out. I remember one day, and it was just like I was just new in Singapore, and this was my first year in Singapore. And then one of my colleagues at work was saying, "Oh no, did you know that the mango?" And I thought she was referring to mango, the fruit, and she was saying that there was such a huge line, and people even slept overnight just to I thought she meant get the mangoes. And I was like, why would people be so crazy about mangoes? And I realized what she meant was Mango, the brand. Now here I'm a bit ignorant about fashion brands sometimes. I don't know if Mango's still around, but I do love. I ended up loving their designs, by the way. But that kind of thing is like people just go crazy for sales and bargains and end up hoarding stuff and not actually using them. And sometimes it just complicates your life if you buy things you don't end up using. And it could be digital stuff. Well, I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I buy software or I buy subscriptions, and I talked about that yesterday, and I end up not using them. So it's good to be someone who is quite ruthless about, you know, keeping things simple. So we actually are a bit minimalist in our house, especially if you travel a lot or you move places, you end up just letting go of a lot of stuff. So that's the second personality type, being a hoarder. So again, ask yourself, are you someone like that? You buy things you don't use just for the high you get for having something cheap. Oh, and by the way, here's one thing that I think you hoarders should never do. I mean, I'm all for always negotiating for a discount if you can, but don't do that when you're in, say, what do you call that? In less developed countries. You know, especially if you're from a rich country or you're from a first world country and you go to a developing country and you go to the street markets and you still bargain with those street vendors, please, right? Just buy full price if you can, especially if the only difference you're bargaining for is $1 or $2. That's just ridiculous. Okay, give them their living. So spenders, hoarders, and the third one is the avoiders, or you could also say they're misers. Kind of similar to hoarder, but the avoiders are the ones who would not spend or cut their spending on things that are actually essential. So sometimes I can be guilty of that too, you know. There are only few items in this world that I really spend a lot of money on, like traveling and education. Otherwise, I can be a bit of a miser or an avoider on things that could be quite important. But the things that are important that we shouldn't be a miser for is anything to do, especially with our health, right? Because the health is wealth in itself. But avoiders are the type who, yeah, just wouldn't spend on things even if they have the money, like, or they don't even spend money even for self-care. I heard about the story of, I don't know where I heard this from, but I heard it from uh, a financial estate planner. And he said that, well, he works with a lot of multimillionaire clients, and sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover, true enough. And he said that one of his clients, you won't have known she's a millionaire because she is a bag lady. And she actually has a mansion, but she would be going around, you know, going through um, even trash bins, right? And she's a multimillionaire. And her mansion is full of, right? So when she finally passed away, they found out like her mansion is just full of useless stuff, and they have to clean up the whole thing. So I guess I'm mixing both the avoider and the hoarder because they're quite related, right? But that's not the way to live life. That's not the way to live a rich and meaningful life, isn't it? If we don't spend our hard-earned money on ourselves for healthcare. Another related personality to being an avoider and a hoarder is a monk. Now, the monk is quite selfless in the sense that the monk doesn't spend on himself or herself, but spends on everybody else. So this person may sacrifice their own pleasures or their own joys, and will spend all their money on their loved ones. They'll spend all their money on their kids, or spend all their money on their spouse. You know, they would scrimp on even, say, having So especially for women, we can be guilty of this. We would scrimp on our having a nice haircut or having good clothes. We would skimp on even having a, you know, a well-deserved pampering like pedicure, manicure, massage, and we will save on all of that just so we can spend money and have a big bang of a birthday party for our kids. So that's the kind of thing that monk personality does. So those are the four main money personalities: the big spender, the hoarder who loves bargains, and not just to save money, just for the high of it, for the sake of just getting sales, things on sale. And then the avoider who's extremely frugal, like a Scrooge, won't spend money that they actually have. And the monk who would pay for everybody else except for themselves. So again, we can be any of these four, and I've been one of these four all at the same time and at different times. But it's a matter of degree and to what extent are we being limited or boxed in into those money personality types. But the more aware we are of our habits, our spending patterns, and ultimately our personality, money personality, then the more we can do something about it. The more we will be in control of our financial destiny. And I said you cannot skip the first step that I talked about yesterday, which is counting, because that will give you clarity and self-awareness of where your personality types are. Now, as I said in the beginning, this may or may not be for real or true, and you can challenge it. All I ask you to do is test it out and see for yourself. You know, are you overspending on things that are actually beyond your means? Are you hoarding, you know, buying stuff that you don't actually need just because they're on sale? How many shoes do you have, and do you actually wear all those shoes? How many bags do you have? How many clothes do you have? Do they all fit into your closet, or you have something you've bought years ago hoping that you'll eventually lose that weight and fit into that small size? You know what I mean? Or are you an avoider? You know, you're a miser. You're too frugal to a fault, right? And I've been like that at some point in my life. I've, you know, limited myself, and especially me being an Ilocana, for those Ilocanos out there, we're known to be a bit kuripot, and we're known to be of that personality, being very frugal. Or the last one is, are you a monk or an enabler who pays for everybody else except yourself? So think about that. Think about how you relate to money. What is your relationship with money? And the next step is we're going to look at what are the ways that you can do to start overcoming those patterns that become a personality, which will eventually become your destiny. And you want to break through those unuseful patterns and start having or building or developing new patterns, so you'll have a more healthy money personality, and so eventually you'll have a better financial destiny. On the road to financial freedom, so you can flourish and flow. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how do you design a strategy, very, very basic, very, very simple strategy that we can start with and we can begin doing, so that you will have the kind of personality that will lead you to a fulfilling, rewarding, rich, and meaningful destiny. Happy flourishing and happy flowing. Think about those personalities and continue counting. That's my 5-day challenge to you. See you again tomorrow. Positive juju, positive energy to all of you. What do you reckon? Should I just be a wealth and money or finance coach? Maybe. I retired early after all, semi-retired. So anyway, see you tomorrow. More tips for you. Ciao. Do you like my yellow flowers? My yellow earrings, my yellow hairband, my yellow top, and my beautiful flowers. I just bought them today.